Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 180 of Level Up, 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions drive the show. My colleague Ella is online in the chat to welcome you, so please let her know your name and the city you are joining from so we can get to know our audience today. The Level Up team will post a link in the comments so you can upvote your questions and enter some. Of course, you can add your own, which we will get through throughout the show. If your question is selected, your name will appear in the credits at the end of the show, so get yours in early and stay tuned with us to see what happens. In today's episode of Level Up Your Career, we delve into the world of Agile project management and its paramount importance in today's dynamic project landscape. Agile methodologies empower teams to respond swiftly and effectively to the ever-changing demands of both requirements and market dynamics. So, let's invite our panelists. Firstly, I'm delighted to welcome back Farah HEBA. Farah is a product owner and trainer with many years' experience. She has developed strong skills in digital and project management, communication and team empowerment, and works in a fast-paced and multicultural environment. Welcome back to Level Up, Farah.
Thank you, Shanice. I'm really delighted to be here with you today and looking forward to answering the great questions.
It's always wonderful to have you back on the show, so thanks for coming back. Our next Level Up panelist is Stephan Brendel. Stephan is the regional lead for APMG International, and he works with our channel partners and trainers in the education space. He's achieved business growth in the region and has used many of his capabilities in the IT service management and project management environment to engage with his community and improve the relationships with his customers. Welcome back to Level Up, Stephan.
Thanks, Shanice. Great to be here on such a nice topic. So really looking forward with the other panelists to cover as many questions as we can.
It's always such a pleasure to have you on the show, whatever seat you're in. And I have the pleasure of welcoming back Richard Campbell, Director and Product Engagement Lead at Agile Business Consortium. Richard is responsible for developing and delivering the Agile Business Consortium portfolio of products that advance business agility. The consortium products help the professional bodies for business agility, and Richard has spent most of his career working in the advanced technology sector with a mix of commercial and project management roles in communication, defence, finance and transportation. Welcome back to Level Up, Richard.
Thank you, Shanice, and looking forward to taking questions from everyone around project management. It's a passionate area for me, and let's see what the audience wants to hear about this. So very good.
Wonderful. We look forward to your insights today, Richard. And finally, wrapping up our expert panel, I'm honoured to welcome back Etienne Shardlow. Etienne is currently the Head of Education at Pink Elephant South Africa, with a specialist focus of the governance of IT and emerging technologies. Etienne assists organisations with aligning IT and business strategies in a way that enables change and flexibility to respond quickly to rapidly evolving business environments. It's so wonderful to have you back as always, Etienne. Thanks for joining us today.
It really is lovely to be here, and I'm excited about the topic. So I believe in this day and age, if we can't be agile, if we can't be flexible, responsive, we're in trouble. So, I think it's really important that we have this discussion today. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And welcoming our question master for today, the one that's going to bring us all the questions, is Suchitra Jacob. Hi, Suchitra.
Hello, Shanice. Hi to the panelists and, of course, our viewers. Thank you for dialing in, and I can't wait to ask questions.
What a wonderful way to start the week with an episode of Level Up, right? Wonderful. So can we have our first question, please, Suchitra?
Sure, you can, Shanice. So to start us off, our first question is from Sunil Varma, who asks, are there projects which are unsuited for Agile?
If we'll go to Stephan, Farah, Etienne, and then Richard.
Yeah, thanks, Shanice. I think there are projects that are unsuited for Agile, or let me put it this way, that maybe another approach should be used. So some of those are, imagine you have a highly regulated environment where there isn't much flexibility possible, or you have long running projects like in the infrastructure area. Imagine that there is, we have this over here in Germany. We have some areas where power companies, power plants have to renaturalize mining fields. There's little room or little benefit if you're running Agile. These projects run for decades, where you have to refill a big hole in the ground and those kind of things. Imagine those, where I think Agile doesn't deliver any benefits. Also, the third one could be if there's a very fixed price on it, so that you can be flexible in terms of how you deliver the results, but the customer is not willing to pay anything beyond that fixed price. Just my 50 cents on this one.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephan. And Farah?
I completely agree with what Stephan has just said. I would add something else. When we speak about, let's say, projects that are unsuited for Agile, usually we speak about specific sectors. I want to share another, let's say, overview on this one. I usually have a kind of checklist that would enable me and the team to know whether an Agile approach or mindset might be more suitable for a project or not. So I would suggest to that viewer that asked the question to check some boxes. If you feel like you're in an environment where there are a lot of hierarchical levels, not trust environment, unavailable clients, maybe that's much more challenging or sometimes completely unsuited for Agile. So rather than just focusing on the sector itself, keep in mind that sometimes the characteristics of your teams, of your environment would lead you to know and to choose whether Agile is the best suited approach to apply or not.
Wonderful. This is fantastic advice. Thank you so much. And Etienne?
Well, I feel like I'm going to repeat what Stephan and Farah have already said. When there is no flexibility, there's just no point in using an Agile approach. It doesn't add any value. And that, for me, we use Agile because it adds value. So if it's not going to add value, if it's not going to help, don't use Agile. And as Farah said, the right environment. If you aren't in a suitable environment, if you don't have that Agile culture, if you don't have teams, customers that trust your teams, that low trust environment is going to make Agile impractical. And so, yes, make sure that I wouldn't run Agile or use an Agile methodology. If I was building a highway, I wouldn't use Agile in an environment where the customer knows exactly what they want, and I wouldn't use it in an environment where the customer and the project team don't trust each other.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your views here. And Richard, if we could have the final answers for this question, please.
Yes. Well, clearly, many projects have been successfully delivered before the concept of Agile was defined as we commonly understand it today. And it would be really unfair to say that those projects were unsuccessful. And that those characteristics, I think, really have been summarized very nicely by my fellow panelists in their answers before this. So there's a large range of projects which are of the form where you can establish a complete plan up front, where it is this the regulated environment that needs to be accommodated, and there is no flexibility to or need to exploit the natural collaborative skills of the individual members of the team to enhance or experiment within the project. So there's no scope for any of that. All of these would point to Agile is not going to give you significant advantage and probably going to add quite a lot of overhead to the project. So those would be the circumstances. All I would say is, from an individual's perspective, of taking part in a project, I would always want it to be an agile one, because I would want to believe that my personal contribution is of value to the project. So I'm sort of in two minds about this, but clearly there are many projects where you could go ahead and approach it in a more traditional way, if you like. So that would be my summary. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Suchitra, if we could have the next question, please.
Sure, Shanice. The next question is from Dana. Why do companies want so much to shift to agile project management? What motivates them the most according to your experience?
Wonderful. Thank you. Etienne, and then Farah, and then Richard.
I think the primary reason for this kind of shift to agile really is the fact that we are in a world that is changing faster than at any point in history. Everything's changing. Nobody really knows what they want. What you want this week is not what you want next week, because the environment has changed around you, and we need to be more flexible. And agile allows us and gives us that flexibility that more traditional methods don't have. And so I think that's one of the main reasons for the shift.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Farah, your thoughts?
Thank you, Shanice. Well, I would say that companies can no longer afford to ignore agile benefits. We usually say that agile helps to deliver value faster, to test your ideas. But usually, if we focus on the triggers that are motivating those companies to move on, I would say that we have two main topics that we can speak about. First one, it's either a burning platform. So I mean that the company is failing to compete or failing to deliver something, and they feel like agile would help them to deliver faster and to test their ideas and adjust their product or service as quickly as possible. Or sometimes they're motivated by a proactive leadership. They don't have that burning platform. They have some people that have that kind of sense of urgency that want to proactively drive the change by taking a stand for a better future state for the company or the team. So according to my experience, I would say that you have those, let's say, two motivational topics or two triggers, the burning platform, and on the other hand, let's say the proactive leadership and the people that wants to change something and to test and learn from that new approaches.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What a great perspective. Thank you. And Richard?
Yes, companies make the shift for a number of different reasons. And part of it is the commercial aspects, that they know that they are dealing with projects which are massively complex. They're volatile in as much as the competition, the market itself is reacting so quickly that the project can't be neatly scoped right up front. So they need that flexibility that you get from Agile to respond as you work through the project. That's probably the single biggest one. But there's a very important one also, that as individuals who work on some of these increasingly complex projects, they choose to want to work in this Agile way too. So the company needs to say, well, we need to change our culture. We need to move towards this agile culture and manage our projects that way, because we're not going to attract and retain people if we try to enforce upon them a counterculture, a command sort of style of culture. So it's partly an HR retaining your best people and attracting your best people one, because people want to work in agile projects, especially when they are of this complex, volatile nature that we've been describing.
Absolutely agreed. Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. And final answers on this, please, Stephan.
I think there's also let's have an opportunistic view. What organizations do. Yeah, first of all, it's time to market. Faster time to market is crucial for a lot of companies. So you can be out of business if you can't react fast to market. And the second one, I think, is from where the benefits in Agile are, is working with the customer. So you define a product by using the customer as a stakeholder. That's been done before, and I think, as Richard mentioned earlier, there have been other projects where this probably has been used, but it's very systematically when managing agile projects to have the customer be in the focus. That is not just good for the product, it's very good for the customer relationship, to have a sustainable relationship with your customers. And I think this all adds together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, panel. This has been an incredible start to the show, so thank you so much. Let's jump straight over to social and see who's online with us today. So hi, Thaya from Palestine. Wonderful to have you here. We hope you're enjoying the show this morning. And we have Mohammed here from Pakistan. Wonderful to see you. You are a regular viewer, so it's lovely to see you come in today. We have Simsani from Botswana. It's so lovely that you can join us, even on a Monday morning or whatever time it is for you. And Michael from Lebanon. It's great to see you. So many of you in the audience today from across the world. We hope you're enjoying the show this morning. So, Suchitra, if we could jump to our next question. The live questions are stacking up, so we best get through them.
Sure. And yes, we do have a live question for Mohammed Naseem. Can you please describe Agile project management?
Ooh, who's going to get their hand up first? Richard, then Etienne, please.
Right. So where do you start with Agile project management? Well, I think the place I would always start here is the team structure. So what makes an Agile project different in my mind is the unit of work is a team. And so whilst very often you start about, it's about the project manager may be part of the leadership team, and you need clear direction, you need intent to be stated very clearly by the project manager and the leadership team. The work is actually done by setting up empowered teams of people with clearly defined areas of responsibility to influence the direction of the project. So recruiting this team of people, so 7, the optimum size is recognized that you need teams of 7 plus or minus 2 people, and a project may consist of 1 to multiple teams of people, and the project manager is responsible for coordinating these teams of people to deliver the elements of the project. So without that team structure of empowered, collaborative people, that's the fundamental building block, as far as I can see, for an effective project management structure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I totally agree with you. And Etienne, if we could have your description of what Agile project management is, please.
Yeah, so many aspects to what makes for an Agile project. But for me, one of the key characteristics is the idea of delivering value early. And we really want to kind of front load the value in a project. So what can we do? And this is where I like to apply the 80-20 rule. What 20% of the work delivers 80% of the value, and can we deliver that work up front? So, breaking the work up into small pieces and then delivering the pieces that add the greatest value early.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. And Stephan, if we could have your answers on this, please.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Richard and Etienne have said already. I would like to add something here. First of all, Agile is not a term you can hide behind if you think you can do what you want in a project. That has to be very clear, yeah? But it has been used before, like, we're doing Agile. That's why we haven't documented this, why we haven't done this, that's why we haven't done that. That's not true. Agile means you have an iteration. Iteration is a process. You have iterations, and it depends. And the only difference is how high is the frequency of iterations you run. But the iterations help, what Etienne said, to be flexible and to deliver value very early, because you know what value is needed now. And that's why the whole Agile project management, I think, is made to deliver quality over quantity. It delivers quality from the very beginning. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's really important. Thank you for sharing that, Stephan. And Farah, final comments on this, please.
I will add something that's usually forgotten when we speak about Agile project management. It's the fact that when we're dealing with Agile, it does not mean that there are no boundaries. I mean, we'll still have deadlines, we still have a budget to run. And sometimes we forget this. We feel like we need to rush to deliver something, and we do not stress enough on that project management topic. And here, when we say Agile project management, keep in mind as a project manager that you will still have deadlines to deal with and you still have a budget to manage.
Absolutely. Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your views there. And Suchitra, if we can move on to the new questions that are coming in, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. And we have a question from one of our panelists who've been on our shows before, Adrian Pine. So he asks, what Agile? Why do many confuse project management with software development agility?
Oh, what a great question, Adrian. Thank you for submitting today. Etienne, if we answers on this, please.
I think the kind of obvious starting point is to just point out that Agile project management evolved from software development. And so that's where a lot of these ideas came from. And so it is easy to blur the lines.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Richard, final comments on this for me, please.
Yes, I think what's sitting behind the question is that there are several different flavors of Agile. I think that's where what the question is alluding to here. And there's this difference between doing Agile and actually being Agile, which I think is what this is probably Adrian is referring to here. So with much software development where you are doing Agile practice, it's you're very bogged down with doing the specific steps of Scrum, for instance, or whatever the approach you are taking in your software development activity. And you are thinking, well, because we are doing these things in the software elements possibly of the project, we are actually doing Agile project management. But it's perfectly feasible to be doing software development in an Agile way, as in following Agile steps, but not actually executing an Agile project management, which really brings up the ideas that were described earlier, that it's about breaking the project down, defining the early delivery of value, and you want that to be done by individual teams who are working on those highest value elements to deliver value to the customer early. So it's this project management structure that says, how do we define, how do we deliver that value early? And it isn't always centered on the software development itself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Stephan, I can see that you've raised your hand. Would you like to add some comments to this question?
Yeah, just a few. So Adrian, you probably, know that software development is basically based on Scrum, and it is a product development methodology. It's there to develop a product. And it's missing a lot of components. And that's why Agile project management, like the Agile PM from the ABC, has added all those elements that actually have or always have been important for managing a project where you get out of software development, where you can actually design a bridge or a house or any kind of other project which has where flexibility and all the Agile elements we spoke about before show their beauty in that. Yeah, I can't imagine. I've never done this to run an infrastructure project just simply by using Scrum. So why do people confuse project management with software development? Because the one was famous. It's a word. It's a hype word. Yeah, and then everything has to be Scrum. That's why it's simple. My view on that one, yeah, it is. But if you look at it, if you look at the fundamentals of it, then these add wonderful together. We just have to get rid of the hypes, which is very often when something comes up, then it's very religious view on things. But there is confusion. That's what we're here for, to get rid of that confusion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What great answers to this question. Adrian, I hope you got the answers you were looking for. Suchitra, if we could move on to our questions, they are stacking up. There's quite a few of you online today, so get your questions in.
Sure. Our question next is from William. How important is team and stakeholder self-organization in Agile projects?
Ooh, who would like to answer this? Etienne has come to save the day, and then Farah, please.
I think one of the most important things, and I think Stephan spoke about it earlier as well, is the importance of teams in Agile. And one of the biggest kind of drawbacks in more traditional approaches to project management is having to get permission to do things. In Agile, we want self-empowered, self-managing teams that can make decisions, and they're working side by side with the customer, so they're not going to make the wrong decision. And so they can make decisions without having to escalate decisions all the time, wait for permission to do stuff. That waiting around for permission delays so many projects. And so in an Agile environment where you don't have time to waste, you just want to get on with achieving stuff, you don't want to be waiting for permission to do stuff. So having a fully self-empowered team, having small teams that can work closely together is one of the things that makes Agile work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And if we go to Farah, please.
Yeah, definitely self-organization represent, I would say, a key element in Agile projects. And you can develop it by several ways. You can develop it by involving the people in the choices that are made, whether they are technical choices, managerial choices, whatever. You can develop that self-organization that is the basis by involving them into the planning definition. So by defining when they are available, when they will be ready to receive a change, when they will be ready to perform a training, whether it's in remote, locally, hybrid, or whatever. The second aspect I want to stress, and this is something that Etienne has just said previously, is that self-organization means also that people would need to keep in mind that they do not need to wait for an action to happen, that they are responsible and that they need to take that responsibility into making the right decisions. So two main things for me to answer this question. First is that, yes, self-organization is something really important and you need to develop it as much as possible. Second, it means also taking a certain responsibility and being aware of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What great advice there. And Richard, final thoughts on this question, please.
Yeah, I feel that Farah and then previously Etienne absolutely nailed those answers. So it is about being proactive, and how do you get the members of the team to not wait to be asked, but to feel that they are empowered to take actions immediately as appropriate? Because that's exactly the point about Agile, isn't it? It's people feeling that they don't have to wait to be told that there's a problem here or there's an opportunity to explore this area or experiment in that area. They own the project. They really feel that they are part of the organization and they are responsible for moving the project forward. And this is a cultural thing, which is very difficult to establish, but without it, you're really not being agile, and that's the critical point. But I feel I'm labouring now what Farah and Etienne had already said, so there we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Richard. So, Suchitra, if we could have our next question. They are coming in fast, so let's get through them.
Sure, you can. Another live question from Dope Night Ajifo. How do you manage changes or unexpected issues during an Agile project?
Wonderful. Thanks, Suchitra. Stephan, if we could have your answers to this question. Farah and then Etienne.
Yeah, I think this is really a great question you came up with. So first of all, managing change, that's why we're doing things agile. I mean, that's a core element of agile project management. Yeah, so if you're not able as a project manager to manage change, you should go on a training course again and learn how to do that. Because as an agile project management practitioner, even on foundation level, you will understand how to do this. Second thing is about iteration. You might have to increase the iterative development so that you have a higher frequency of meeting with customers. And I always find this important, involve the customer, so involve the stakeholders, yeah, quite often. Don't leave them alone. In some cultures, I know this is very difficult to do, where stakeholders just are interested in getting the end result. But a vital element of agile project management is to keep them involved all the time. And last one, retrospectives and you learn that when you are certified in Agile PM. That's a great element, a great tool, a great technique to learn from previous sprints or time box series what needs to be done next to address any kind of unexpected issues.
Wonderful, great advice there. Thanks so much, Stephan. And Farah, if we could have your comments on this question, please.
Thank you. I would say keep a cool head. So first, assess that changes request, those issues that might be unexpected, because analysis is the basis. I would repeat it, I guess, many times during this show. But when we speak about Agile, sometimes we're in a rush. We think that every change is necessary right away. Every issue needs to be tackled right away. So first thing and first advice for me is to keep a cool head and to assess that change. Then to try to keep value into your mind while prioritizing it. Some changes might be necessary, but not right away. So there is no need to stress the team or to rush into the delivery.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for great advice there. And Etienne, final comments on this question, please.
Yeah, I think one of the things that allows us to manage change in Agile better than in more traditional approaches is the fact that we plan differently in Agile. So there's a misconception that we don't plan in Agile, but the whole idea is that we plan at a very high level, and we have this high level roadmap, but every iteration, every step gets planned close to the time that it's going to be done. And so changes don't break our plan like they tend to do in more traditional approaches to project management, which allows us to deal with changes a whole lot better because we've got that flexibility, because we haven't planned so far ahead that we now have to go and rethink our plan to deal with the change.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great answers, panel, today. Wonderful. Suchitra, if we could have the next question. They are coming in, so let's get them answered.
Sure. Our next live question is from Mervis, who asks, what is the best way of handling documentation in an agile way of managing?
Ooh, what a great question, Mervis. Can we go to Etienne and then Richard, please?
Right. The first point I want to make is don't produce documentation that no one's going to read. Okay. So don't make documentation that isn't going to get read. All right. Produce the documentation that's actually going to add value. Right. And there is this misconception, as I said, with planning, that in Agile, there's also no documentation. That's also nonsense. Right. But again, we produce the documentation that is necessary for that point in the project.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you. Richard, if we could have your comments, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, as Etienne said, it's the minimum necessary amount of documentation that is needed to meet the needs. And that's part of the culture that you need to establish, that you shouldn't be bogged down by documenting everything, or what is the amount of documentation. I mean, if it can be done in an email, I think there's a tendency to try to do everything with templates and predefined structures, and then people are groping around trying to fill things out artificially. And very often this is totally unnecessary in an agile world. You can do it in a much lighter touch way. And that's part of what you are gaining with the efficiency with an agile project. You don't have to spend huge amounts of time producing documentation, which exactly said Etienne said no one's going to read. So it's the minimum needed to serve the purpose.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Serve the purpose. That's so important. Stephan, if you would like to jump in, you can add some comments to this question.
Yeah, completely agree with Etienne and Richard. I would like to add that you might use a very dynamic way of documenting, because one of the principles in Agile is it's flexible. It's change. And when things change, then documentation can become the issue. So make sure that you can update it easily. It's readable for teams. Besides that, absolutely agree with the other guys have said already.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, panelists. This has been a great, great question. Mervis, we hope that you enjoyed your answers. Suchitra, if we could have the next question, please.
Sure. Our next question is from Sarah. What are the must-have skills for Agile project managers?
Oh, what a question, Sarah. Richard and then Farah, please.
I would say that the most important thing is the growth mindset. It's this idea as a project manager, you need to be open to learning all the time and encouraging others to learn all the time. So the Agile project manager wants to be leading by example, being the change, showing that they are learning to encourage everyone else to be continuously learning. So that was where my focus.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Farah, your comments on this question?
I would take a step back in regards to those characteristics and, let's say, skills. For me, the first one is to understand Agile, because today it's more and more becoming a buzzword. So you need to understand the basics, the principles, what it means, what it does not mean, in order to provide those knowledge and those, let's say, information into your teams. So for me, the most important thing is understanding Agile.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Stephan, final comments on must-have skills for Agile project managers.
So first of all, there's no room for a local hero in Agile projects. There's room in PMI for local heroes, but not in Agile. That's number one. Number two is, and I would just like to add, communication. You're working with teams. You have to be capable of being empathetic. Understand the team's problems and issues that they have, even if it's outside the whole thing, and then use the same empathetic skills also to manage the stakeholders. And that might be a completely different thing to do here. Yeah, I think when you don't have these skills, then train them, because they will be very important when you want to run successful Agile projects.
Wonderful. What great advice there for the must-have skills for Agile project managers. Suchitra, if we could take our next question, please.
Sure. Our next question is another one from Dope again. What strategies do you use for tracking and measuring project progress and success?
Etienne, please, if you could share your answers, that would be great.
Right. So I spoke a little earlier about planning, and I said that we do have planning. There's that kind of misconception that we don't have planning. I think there's two levels of planning, and one of the tools that I like to use is a more traditional type project plan for the high level view of the project. What deliverables need to come before other deliverables and things like that, so we understand our dependencies. But then in the teamwork, I'm a big fan of using some kind of Kanban board, some kind of visualization tool. One of the things that helps to make Agile work is this idea of making the work that we're doing visible and having this openness and transparency. So have a team plan that is visible to everyone.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you so much. And Richard, your thoughts for this question?
Yes, so I would look at the events that the teams who are working in the project perform to ensure, again, I think focusing on value delivery here. I've always been a fan in agile project management, in working in time boxes or sprints, where at the end of every one you are demonstrating both internally and to stakeholders the value that you are delivering. And probably the best way of really determining, are we on track, are we actually delivering value early, is to be able to demonstrate that in those reviews and do it frequently and make sure that everyone is involved in seeing the value being delivered. So I think that strategy of demonstrating value is the single thing I would be focusing on.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Stephan, final comments for this question, please.
As I said earlier, agile is not a term you can hide behind. So that includes that you can't avoid having measures and metrics. And very often, I think you just use those that have been used before in other projects, like if it's a KPI, or you define project milestones, or you're using burn-down charts or Kanban way of looking at things, like Etienne said. I think that's important, that there's no exception to that. Yeah, the metrics are needed. It's just that maybe you are more welcome to not plan too much ahead of it. Like you accept that you set a KPI today, and because of changes and because of the flexibility you need to perform, these might change, but then keep them updated. But that's what I think. These are the strategies or the methodology to use is what always has been used in the past. Best is to have SMART goals, KPIs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Suchitra, if we could have our next question, please.
Sure. Another live question from Shegu. How vulnerable is Agile project delivery methods to AI?
Ooh, what a great question. Stephan, if we could have your comments, please.
I keep it short. Not at all. Not at all. Depends all on how you are using Agile, using artificial intelligence. It really depends on that. But in general, I would say not at all. Use it if it can be very helpful. Don't use it as a competition.
Wonderful. Great advice there. Thanks, Stephan. And Etienne, if we could have your comments, please.
Yeah, I think Agile becomes more important when we're making use of AI. AI at the moment tends to be fairly unreliable, and so we need some flexibility to be able to deal with what AI tools throw at us. And so I think there is more need for Agile when making use of AI at the moment.
Great advice there. Thank you so much. Farah, please.
Yeah, we spoke earlier about project manager skills, and we didn't talk about critical thinking and reflection assessment that might be necessary. So today, as an agile project manager, you can use AI to have ideas, to dig deeper into some topics, to have, let's say, sometimes brilliant ideas that might come up, but your critical thinking might not be replaced by that AI. So you can use it, as has been said by my fellow panelists, but your critical thinking and that skill that you will, let's say, develop by managing your projects into your context might not be replaced by AI.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Richard, your final comments to this question, please.
Yes, so the expression vulnerable is the one that I've been trying to think of. What exactly is Shardlow speaking about here? So I'm aware that AI is starting to be used in various aspects, and I would see it as using AI for the right purpose. So it's one thing, I suppose, for AI to be impacting the project, but also is AI being used within the project team itself for different purposes? And with that in mind, I'm very aware that one of the most successful things is if you're doing risk management within your project, and every project manager's got to do risk management, determining where your risks are, what are the serious ones that you need to be working on. AI is notoriously bad, for instance, at predicting risk. It'll come up with all sorts of bizarre, at this point, I mean, AI is going to improve, but right now it's known, it's really good, really bad at coming up with what are your actual project risks going to be. And that's what the project manager really needs to focus on and make sure they're thinking this through. And again, talking about the reflective aspects of what's going on in your project. But once you've identified as a project manager what your risks are, AI is actually rather good at identifying mitigation strategies, and it can be used really effectively to help you evaluate what you should be doing in your project to counter those risks. So use it as appropriate, but it still doesn't get away from the project manager using his brain or her brain to work out how to move the project forward to deliver value at the managed risk. There we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Suchitra, can we fit in one more question, please?
Sure, we can. We have a live question again from Isaac. Please clarify, what is the advantage and disadvantage of Agile project management compared to other methodologies?
Wonderful. What a great question, Isaac. Etienne and then Stephan, please.
For me, one of the biggest advantages to using an agile approach is the fact that it allows us to respond to change. Whereas traditional projects get thrown off by change, agile projects actually allow for change, and we can accommodate change so much easier in an agile approach. So for me, that's the biggest advantage.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Stephan, if you could share your insights here.
I don't want to be the bad guy, but because Etienne talked about the advantages, let me talk about the disadvantages. Yeah, just to give that a better scope, Isaac, is probably the uncertainty, the scope, which is not certain from the beginning. That's a disadvantage of using Agile because you can't pre-plan. As much as that, you might have a risk of over-iterating, so that there's too much iterating for the sake of iteration, just to continue to call it Agile. Yeah, so that a few elements, the initial learning curve might be more difficult if an Agile mindset is not there yet in the organization. You have to build it first. Let's not forget, Agile is not just using a methodology or read a book or have a certification and then you can do it. It requires a mindset to be established in the team and the organization with the customers and everything. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Farah, would you like to add to this question?
Yeah. So let's come back to the advantages then. I would say that one of the main advantages would be that the team keeps in mind that we're not obliged to continue working on the product or a line of services because it was planned like that. I mean, that we have the opportunity to shift, to change whatever we're working on because the client is not happy with it, or maybe we did not understand the need correctly, or something has changed into our market or context. So for me, the advantage is that the team keeps in mind that everything is possible, that we're not obliged to stick to the plan because it was planned like this 6 months ago or 1 year ago, and that was the vision that we had. Our vision might change according to the changes in our environment or whatever, and we're not obliged to stick to the first solution that we had or that popped into our mind.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we hope you like those answers, Isaac. Suchitra, I think we've got time for one more question, so let's sneak it in quickly.
Yes, we can. And our last question is from Nick in Wokingham in the UK. What are some of the most exciting Agile projects the panel have worked on?
Oh, what a question. Thanks, Nick, for submitting this. Does anyone mind if we just walk around the panel and just share one of the projects that we've worked on? Wonderful. Let's do it. Richard, we'll start with you.
Actually, the angle I was going to come at here, a few months ago, we did our annual conference on Agile Projects, and some fascinating projects were identified. So rather than one that I was personally involved with, I was involved in as much as I was involved with the awards event. And the one that brings to mind is the Roads and Transport Authority of the United Arab Emirates, Dubai specifically. And for those of you who've been to that part of the world and you saw the phenomenal road and transportation, the trains, the new airport that was built, the metro, the flying taxis and so forth, to bring all of those projects together could only have been achieved in an agile way. They combine it with other approaches which, strictly speaking, aren't agile in their nature, but what they have achieved was only achieved through agile practice. And that's, to see that delivery makes it the most exciting in my mind.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Stephan, would you like to share one of the exciting projects you've worked on or heard of?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I like that you try to prove us to show that we are walking the talk when we talk about agile projects. So mine actually dates back very, very long. I think the term agile wasn't even there, and it was an infrastructure project for a collaboration tool in the IBM environment, and it stuck. It completely stuck. So then I was called in. I had no clue about what agile is or not, but I thought maybe I should talk more to the customers. Maybe I should talk to those. Maybe I should more try to motivate teams who were completely desperate. And this all worked out. It worked out, and I was always wondering. Later on, I realized why. But I was using, together with a team of some fellow project managers, we were developing this method, always communicating, making things transparent, nothing to hide, which was everything that happened before. And I found this the most exciting agile project I ever have been on without knowing it was an agile project.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Etienne, if you could share the most exciting agile project you worked on.
Well, I don't know that any of my projects are really exciting because they're all in the governance space. But most of my projects involve developing governance structures and developing processes, procedures, and things like that. But one of the things I have found by using a more agile approach is that the customers are able to get value earlier on, and so the thing that excites me most about using agile in these projects is the fact that we're able to get value early, which helps to improve buy-in, because a lot of these projects that I'm involved in, there's a lot of resistance. And so as soon as people start to realize that there's value, then they want to do the next one, then they want to do the next one. And so Agile actually gets my customers more excited about the work that I'm doing for them.
Wonderful. That's always good as well, isn't it? That's always the most biggest positive out of everything. And Farah, if we could have your most exciting agile project that you worked on.
Yeah. So for me, I would say that first, what I define as exciting is challenging and new to me. So a few months ago, I would say a year or so ago, we worked on an educational game project. And the objective was to build a product for younger people. So young people, I mean people or children that are between 5 and 10 years old, which might be a bit different from what we do usually. I usually work with professionals, with companies, clients that are in the banking or insurance sectors. And here it was quite challenging because the requirements, the value behind the product was kind of different and challenging for us to develop.
Wow, that sounds so much fun. I bet it was so nice to have a bit of a different audience as well. Wonderful. Yeah. What a great show that we've had today. We are just going to quickly go round and get your final comments on the show and this episode. So, Stephan, if we could start with you.
Yeah, as we could see, there's probably a lot of questions still unanswered. So we could probably talk for another hour on this. I really enjoyed this, and I think we covered, hopefully to the pleasure of all those who raised the questions, we covered most of their inquiries. And I think we've learned that Agile is not a myth, but it's also not something, I keep on saying that, nothing where you can hide behind. You have to still look at customers and deliver value. And there are lots of things. And I hope, Shanice, we will have another show on this topic.
Absolutely. It's been a great show. So thank you for all your insights today, Stephan. Farah, if you could share your final thoughts with me, please.
Well, it was a great discussion that we have. We have always so much to say about Agile project management. There is one thing that I want to stress prior to ending this session, is that it's not because you're doing Agile project management that you forget basic project management. That's the thing that a lot of people forget, and that I love, let's say, to put on the table to discuss again. So if at some point we have the opportunity to have this topic tackled again, I would be really glad to discuss this.
You are always welcome on Level Up, Farah. So your invite will be in the post to you shortly. Richard, if we could take your final comments, please.
Yeah, actually, I would steal one of the comments that was put down by one of our viewers here. So Agile is a mindset more than it is anything else. So the thing I'd be driving towards to anybody who's taking part in an Agile project management is be agile, learn, make it a part of your core, your existence, everything you approach. Be agile as a central mindset, and be less concerned with doing the individual steps that you think are agile things to do, as opposed to genuinely in your heart being agile.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Richard. It's always such a pleasure to have you. And Etienne, if we could have your final thoughts today.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Agile, people need to focus a lot less on the word Agile and start thinking more about agility. And I always think of a deer running through a forest. They've got their mind set on what they want to achieve, and they're just going for it. And it doesn't matter what springs in from the sides or what obstacles get in the way. They jump over them, around them, or duck out of the way, but they keep their eye on where they're going and they get there. And for me, that's what agility is. And Agile is this umbrella term for all these methodologies that help us to kind of do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And it's always so great to have you here. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And Suchitra, can we welcome you back on screen to share your final thoughts, please?
Well, it's been a great show, Shanice, and thank you to our panelists. We've had some extremely amazing engagement from our live viewers and some fabulous questions. And like Stephan said, we definitely should be doing this episode again because we have a lot of questions still left to be answered. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's in the planning already. So viewers, press that subscribe button so you don't miss one of our Agile chats again. Thank you so much for joining us today. There are 3 things that you can do to help us. If you could go to our YouTube channel, like this video and subscribe to our APMG channel. You can also share this video with your peers to spread the word about the show. And if you could consider signing up to become a panelist, we also have a weekly newsletter that you will get sent if you sign up too. So please sign up. And I would like to let you know that we have some great shows coming up in the next couple of days. We have our Level Up show this Friday about how to become a PPP specialist. And then on Monday, the 1st of September, we have how to become an Agile change agent. And on the 4th of September, we have how to become a business relationship manager. So please subscribe to the show, hit like, and you will receive all your newsletter and your notifications to show when we are live. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a lovely day. Take care.